have taken the time to show up any later than they need to be. So thank you all for joining us in our continuing series of all community council meetings. We can think at some point in time if the schedule of monthly meetings is still in alignment with what folks desire and want and need. But for the time being, we'll continue with the schedule here. Welcome, Commissioner Slotnick.
Hey, dude.
I think Juanita will be just a little bit late, but will be joining us also. And to kick things off in our tradition, let's see. Do we even have Cindy from the health department? I don't see her name listed here.
Wow.
I don't see Cindy on yet. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is. Just in time, Cindy Farr, please provide us an update from your vantage point related to COVID-19 or anything else noteworthy from the health department.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I couldn't get Teams to work. I've been having issues with it off and on all day today.
You know what? That never happens.
Never
That's
happens.
the first time I've ever heard a problem with Teams. So I don't know.
Dave, you haven't been listening.
So our COVID update is, I think that you all know that our cases are going down in Missoula County. We're hanging at about 13 cases per 100,000 people right now. And they're kind of bouncing around a little bit. Like we're seeing anywhere from 13 to, or well, between 10 and 20 cases a day coming in right now. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. My dogs are barking in the background. Right now we're seeing a little bit of a lull, and we're taking advantage of that lull and doing a little bit of restructuring and kind of looking at how we might be able to be more efficient as we're waiting for the next spike to come up. We are going to be moving to our new location on the corner of West Broadway and Flynn Lane, and that move is going to take place. One of the groups is moving next Monday, and the other group is moving the following Monday. So that's going to be, it'll be a site that includes testing and vaccine, plus a lot of our administrative folks. So we're able to get everybody under one roof. So that's pretty much what I have. We don't know a whole lot about the Omicron variant at this point. I did see a study that came out today that says that the Omicron variant is only the 2 doses of Pfizer vaccine. Sorry, can you hold on one second?
Could you read Cindy's lips?
Yeah, I have children, one teenager coming in and a toddler that's very excited about it. So a little bit of background noise there. So we don't know a lot about the Omicron variant. There was a study that came out today or yesterday out of South Africa that is showing that if you have 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, then it's only actually 33% effective at preventing transmission of the Omicron variant. But they're hopeful and optimistic that if you have that 3rd dose booster, that you'll actually be better protected than that, but they don't have enough research out right now to know that for sure. So far, what we're seeing also in the studies that they've done is that most of the cases are pretty mild, and that with 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, you're 70% effective, or it's got 70% effectiveness at preventing hospitalization. So that's pretty much what we know about that at this point. We do expect that we're going to see another wave. I hope I'm wrong, but the surges that we've seen have come about 3 to 4 weeks after what we see in the northeastern part of the United States, and they're experiencing another surge right now. And so we're kind of thinking that if it's based on past surges that we've seen, that probably in 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to see another surge. So we're just making plans to be prepared for that. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Cindy. Bert?
Yeah, I've got one. It's a technical question, if you will. I was with a group the other day, and the question came up that if I'm vaccinated and boosted, all right, and I'm dumb enough not to wear a mask, and I go stand around somebody who has been exposed and is contagious. I don't know that, but you find out later. I'm assuming that I would inhale some of the particles and then start shedding at some point. My question is, at that point, when do I stop shedding? When have I shed so much that I can be around other people?
So actually, if you've gotten your 2 original doses of the vaccine and you received a booster dose of the vaccine, only about 5% or less of people are going to actually get sick with the virus, or even like what you're saying, get the virus whether you're having symptoms or not having symptoms, and be able to pass it on to other people. If you do fall into that 5%, then it's usually the incubation period is about 10 days. With an average of 3 to 5 days after exposure is when you want to get tested for early detection, but it can be up to 10 days after exposure. And basically, once you either develop symptoms or you test positive because you're not having symptoms, then you'd be shedding the virus for 10 days.
Okay, thank you. That answered it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Good question, Bert. Other questions from folks for Cindy? Emily. Oh, Emily and then Josh.
I just, again, just complimenting your guys' good work. Unfortunately, we've used your drive-through testing. We've all been negative because we're all vaccinated, thank goodness. But we've been utilizing that very well lately. And it's just been really simple, and I really appreciate the ease and convenience it is. So thank you.
Thanks, Emily. I will definitely pass along those great words to my team.
Josh.
Cindy, have you heard much about Pfizer's new treatment pill for folks?
I saw something that came out, it was either today or yesterday, that basically says that if you receive treatment with the pill that the treatment that Pfizer is putting out, within 3 days of developing symptoms, that it can keep you from being hospitalized. Unfortunately, right now, the only people who have access to give you that pill are the hospitals. And so you have to be sick enough to go to the hospital to receive treatment so that it can keep you from being admitted to the hospital, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I hope that they figure out their supply chain, whatever that supply chain issue is. Yeah, so that healthcare providers can actually provide that treatment on an outpatient basis when somebody is initially diagnosed. But right now, it's just kind of set up really weird.
Fascinating. And Juanita Vero, I think I saw her on the list there, so she's joined us now. Other questions? Okay. Well, thanks so much, Cindy, and thanks for you and your team members continuing hard work.
Yep, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And going from Cindy Farr to Cindy, spelled differently, Cindy Kennedy. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the food bank and CDBG and CARES Act grant and all that good stuff?
Yes, I will provide a little overview, and then I'll turn it over to Kelly from the food bank to tell us more specifics. So you may recall back in March of 2020, the previous administration passed the CARES Act, and the CARES Act distributed funds to HUD, among other places. And so the state of Montana received some of those funds through the Community Development Block Grant Program. And it took them a while to get to a place where they could distribute those funds. So recently, we were able to submit a grant application on behalf of the food bank to request some funding that could go back and reimburse the food bank for services that were provided all the way back to January of 2020. And fortunately, we were able to identify eligible activities, and we're able to do that for the food bank, actually just going back to March 2020, when things kind of really started going crazy for all of us. And so this grant that we received in the amount of $256,276, kind of an odd amount, but it's the math that adds up to that. The food bank is going to be able to go back to providing some of the services that they were providing due to COVID, but had to stop because of funding, a break in that funding. So the good news that if I understand correctly, is that Bonner services will be provided in Bonner. Enhanced services will be provided in Lolo, and then the Futura manufactured home community will have some services again too. So I am going to let Kelly talk more about that. Kelly Hess is the Director of Operations at the Missoula Food Bank and Community Center. And Kelly, if you feel comfortable taking it from there, I will give you the mic.
You bet. You bet. Thanks for having me, and I'm so excited about this funding. We at the Food Bank are really, really honored that we're able to be a recipient of this funding, and then starting in the new year, continue some of the services that we had to discontinue in some of these outlying county areas that we were able to do right initially when the pandemic hit. There was just so much need and so much community response and all of those things. But now with this funding, we'll be able to go back to some of those areas and do that outreach again. So Cindy was right. Lolo, we have continued our pantry in Lolo, but it meets or it offers distribution 2 times each month. And it's a choice model market out there. What this funding will allow us to do is send more fresh foods out to Lolo. Over half of the recipients or households that visit that pantry regularly are seniors. So that's a pretty great outline satellite pantry for us. We really feel like it's pretty effective in that community. And then the other 2 locations are partnering with some friends out in Bonner, and really it has been at Our Savior's Lutheran Church is where we were able to do distribution before. Really, they just helped coordinate a bunch of volunteers that came and did mostly home deliveries. So grab and go style. There were some households or customers that would show up and grab their groceries for themselves, but then there were also volunteers that were taking these home deliveries. And so being able to start that distribution back up is really exciting. Again, allowing us to purchase non-perishable and perishable foods to serve out there. And that was around between 40 and 50 households. And so when we had to discontinue that distribution, it was really a hit and really worrisome for us, but this funding will allow us to start that back up in the new year. And then the Futura mobile home park that Cindy mentioned, again, that's our mobile meal bus. We serve kids meals out there on any days that there aren't school. And so we'll be able to put groceries boxes onto that bus and take that out to that community as well. And in that particular community, every household that we're working with has children in it. And so again, really these outlying areas are so much harder to reach, and with funding like this, we'll be able to do it. So this not only helps us pay for the food, but it also is written in here for us to add a part-time position, 20 hours a week in staff support to be able to make it happen. And that is a game changer for us at the food bank, being able to have not only the resource for the food, but also a resource of having a person and the person power to be able to support this work. So it's a big deal for us. The idea that it's 3-year funding also is something that's really exciting. We've already started to talk to the communities in each of these specific areas, and they're so very excited. But one of the first questions that has been asked, especially in Bonner and out in Futura, is like, for how long? And then when will you? And so the idea that this is 3-year funding really is significant. I don't know what I missed. Did I say we're excited?
I think I got that impression. Yeah.
Good.
That's great work. Well, let's open it up for some questions. Any questions for either Kelly or Cindy? Emily.
Yeah, I didn't hear, how many days a week are you been traditionally serving out in Bonner?
Yeah,
and how many are we doing now or going to do?
We were doing once a week, and we're looking at either doing once a week or twice a month. We're not sure. And if it ends up being twice a month, it'll be it'll be a larger distribution, right? Mostly volunteers that'll be helping support that work. So figuring out some of the details still, but it'll either be weekly or twice a month.
By larger distribution, I meaning like when you pack stuff, it's going to be non-perishables to last them 2 weeks or closer to that 2 weeks, or bigger versus the once a week.
Yeah, and likely just more food. And so even if it's more fresh foods, then we have found, and we know that customers that utilize our store at the food bank, really the need is so great, is greater towards the end of the month when SNAP dollars run out, when when your paychecks are longer. And so I don't know, we're working on the details of what that would look like, but potentially a larger distribution of meaning more food towards the end of the month and a little bit scaled back earlier. We'll see how it, again, haven't got to those fine details yet.
Great question. Thanks, Emily. Other questions from folks for either Kelly or Cindy? All right. Well, yeah, super exciting news, Kelly. That's good work, and will be a great asset for our community. So,
yeah, thank you. It's going to be great.
Very good. Emily, is your hand up from previously? Okay, that was a yes. All right, Cindy and Kelly, you can stick around or feel free to cut yourselves loose here and enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Thanks,
Right.
Kelly.
Well, let's just do our round robin here. We're blasting through our agenda quickly tonight, which is fine. We'll give you a few more minutes of your evening back, but let's do our round robin of updates, if there are updates to be had from any of the community councils who are in attendance, which are not all of the community councils. So why don't we begin out in West Valley? Tom, do you have anything for us tonight? You're muted, Tom.
He's trying to connect via his phone, so we might want to loop back to him.
Yes, will do. Okay, let's whip around to the northeast corner of Missoula County. Tom Browder, what's happening in Sealy?
Well, we finally have some snow, so we're starting to see snowmobilers come up 83, which is good. We do have the question for the commissioners when, you know, we've got this request into FWP to see if they can reopen the RV dump. I wondered if there's an update on whether the letter that we provided, and I think you're going to do a cover letter, and then that will get forwarded to FWP. Has there been any progress on that?
I think the man who might be able to tell us just appeared on the screen, Chet Krauser.
Like magic.
I know.
Yeah.
Christmas present.
So the progress is somewhat slow, and I apologize, Tom. I had hoped I would be able to get this one to the commission here on the 21st, which is one of their admin meetings. I don't know that I'm quite going to make that mark. It's just a matter of getting that drafted and get your letter attached and get it on their admin agenda. But that's at the top of my list, and I will let you know as soon as I have that and it's ready, so that you'll have an opportunity to attend that meeting.
I mean, that's fine. I think probably January would be good. I was seeing, it looks like the FWP is all caught up in these, you know, rewriting the elk regulations. So it might be a good time to slide this in. They'll say, yeah, whatever, you know, because not controversial.
That's not a bad strategy, Tom. I appreciate that. Catch them while they're not looking. Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking, Tom, and I'll pull that together here as soon as I can. After today, my time frame is opening up a little bit, so I know I'll have some time to put to that.
Okay, great. Otherwise, I'm up here in Sealy. We don't do a meeting in December. Our next one will be January. We'll elect officers and probably update the bylaws then. So things are fine up here. You know, it's cold and quiet, and that's what we like.
Great, and it is like music to my ears to hear that someone's updating their bylaws.
It's about time somebody did
Oh
that.
man, we went at least a month without any bylaws updates, so that's great. All right, thanks, Tom. Bonner Milltown, you guys are well represented. Whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
Let's go for Rick and then Emily and then me.
Well, I don't have much other than that we elected officers, so we did do that. And we have a different chair. I'm a treasurer now, but that's about it.
Emily, anything to share?
Yeah, I'm just bringing up my notes because I do that and I'm kind of weird that way.
Just that way?
I'm a weird person. I actually likes reading bylaws. I don't know why. I'm strange. Okay. We had a great guest speaker on Monday talking about the U-Dash, so the transportation from the university down to the Sharon floating for the drop-off and their success and kind of like learning how to do that. I know I would love to see that go down into our state park there and to alleviate some of the transportation there. But we had that was a great speaker for us, an update on there. The new fire department is coming along slow. They hope to occupy the building by January, just for staffing and people reasons. They haven't finished it yet. So, but they're getting there. And then the removal of the Bonner Milltown repository will continue, and it looks to be completed no later than June of 2022. And they, the Bonner Mill is now owns a portion of the Bonner Mountain above the school, and the mills, and that holds the water tank for the mill's fire control. So that's what we got going on around our place. And yeah. Oh, and then I really I like your podcast, guys. Thank you. There's lots of I really do.
I love that.
There's really
That's
good
great.
information on there. It's great.
I think you just increased our listenership by like 20%. Just by
Awesome. I'm so glad. I've been listening to that.
Speaking of that, how about one of our communications team members, Emmy Bristow, is on the line here. Emmy, could you put in the chat the link to our Tip of the Spear podcast for folks?
Yeah, no. And Emily, I think the one we just taped is one of the best ones. We had Dan Clark from the local government center at MSU. He was brilliant. So should be a really good discussion.
Good. I do a lot of driving, so I do a lot of listening, and so I was glad to pick up your podcast. And yeah, I've learned stuff that I never knew I'd know about. So it's been great.
That's great.
Excellent.
Are there any murders? That's what I need to know.
If we could incorporate some true crime in there, we could really boost our listenership.
Maybe some ghost stories or something. I don't know.
Well, you do have TJ working for you. He ought to be able to.
Well, that's true.
There's got to be some cold cases we could try and uncover.
Okay. Thanks for the ideas. That's great. We'll weave that in. Bert, what do you have to add to what Emily and Rick already mentioned?
Well, they pretty well covered it, but I did want to touch on that the Bonner Mill has been working for quite a while to get the side of the mountain there with their water supply on it, and that finally went through with a lot of cooperation from several groups, and that was a really great thing. The other thing that with the fire department is that there's an auction on January the 15th, which I plan to attend but not be a bidder, because I can't afford that sort of thing. But it should be interesting. It should be with all of the concern from the local neighborhood, where and it still is funny to me that you can't tell your next door neighbor who he can sell his house to or she can sell her house to, but they're trying to define who can buy the fire department and what they can do with it. I understand the concern, but I don't understand the logic behind it. And Josh, you're on you're on the MDA, so you know that we put the extra 900,000 out there for the Bonner Mill to finish their cleanup.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise. And I honestly was surprised they couldn't answer some of the questions about why they didn't know what was in the base of it, but they didn't know and they don't know, and we're going to get it cleaned up. And as I keep telling people that, you know, they talk about it being tax money that they're using to do that, but the only people's money that's going to end up paying for that are inside the fence.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I'm not really concerned with it. It's we approved them to spend it. Everybody assured those of us that were asking that it could be covered by the tax increment. And so let's go, let's rock and roll. We'll do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The reality is we absolutely have to get that cleaned up. That's just how it has to be.
We've got to do that so Ed and Mike can build a building there and sell something and increase the taxable revenue and pay off the bond.
Yeah, and those materials should not be in the midst of a whole bunch of people cruising around working, doing it. That just needs to be gone.
That's true. That's true. Other than that, no, everything's fine in the world of Bonner that I'm aware, and we do have a new council organization, and we're starting to fall into our roles there. So it's a good deal.
Good.
All right.
I had a question for the commissioners though. Are you guys
Sure.
Are you guys ready for the discussion that's coming tomorrow on Lockmart?
Can I jump in here, Dave? I can barely contain myself.
I can tell. Yeah.
So, Bert, I think there's a little bit of, I'll say misinformation, but I think things got twisted around just a tiny bit. Tomorrow, Emily's going to come to us with a proposal on what it would take to do a real deep dive into Larchmont and dig up all kinds of information on the effects of this proposal. And we don't know what she's going to say, how many hours, how many dollars she's going to say. And we're going to decide whether we want to do that or not.
Right.
The decision tomorrow isn't thumbs up or thumbs down on Larchmont.
Well,
it's
no,
do we want to go one big step deeper?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be a decision up and down. What I was talking about is, are you ready? Do you have enough powerful servers to handle all the people that are going to show up?
I know what you're saying. I don't know the answer to that. Dave, you should.
And we have 60 minutes, 1 hour for the discussion, so we might be defaulting to 30-second public comment tomorrow. We'll see.
Could be. Dave, you're going to have a challenge reining in the commenters.
Just so you know, I will be there, and I will not be making any comments. I know it's unusual, but I will not.
Will you be wielding an iron or wood? I don't know.
Putter.
Oh, putter. Okay. Fair enough. All right.
It'll be a lively hour.
It will be. Thanks, Bonner Milltown. Lisa, how about East Missoula?
Hi, everyone. We just had our meeting last night, and we heard more about the Sharon parking lot and river access and improvements to Sharon that will be coming, probably done by the end of the summer, we heard last night, if all goes correctly. So that will be, I believe, it was 89, I believe, parking spaces, about a quarter of a mile from the current river put in. There was discussion of allowing trailers to park at the river put in and all the other traffic going down to the parking lot. There was discussion of bus service.
Lisa, who talked to you about that?
What?
Who is the speaker on the Sharon?
I'd have to look at my notes. Sorry. I don't have my notes with me. It's on my other computer.
Josh, it was Shane.
It was Shane.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So that was sounding good, and there was a lot of good public feedback about things like the bus and having a porta potty there and things like that, and what to do with the trailers. And hopefully we'll get a lot of traffic off the highway and parking on the road and things like that. And there will be a multi-use path off the highway connecting the river access Sharon with the parking lot. So we will not have so many people walking their tubes up and down the street.
And just a shout out to our very own Josh Solotnik, was a key player in all of that. So
yes,
I would say Shane and Chet, and I hope we can name this after them. That's my plan when we get this done.
so I'm impressed with how quickly that has come together. It seems like
We're not over the finish line yet, but we're hoping to get there soon.
Hey, Lisa, I just want to check in. Hands are flying up like crazy. I wonder if if either Tom or Bert have something in response to what you were just talking about. Tom?
Well, yeah, I mean, normally at this point, when we're past Seeley Lake, I'm not, I'm mostly a listener, but I was looking at that interactive map that's out there for the rezoning. Very cool map. And I was mostly interested from my campaigning last summer, the work, what is it called? Live Work. That was sort of an East Missoula thing, but the only place it was shown on the map was West Riverside. There was none of that in East Missoula. And my sense, talking to Lee and other folks, is that it was an East Missoula kind of inspired thing, and that's where it belonged. Has there been any change on that?
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what you might be looking at, Tom, because you're correct that East Missoula is going to be a primary recipient of that proposed zoning designation. Maybe Chet Krauser, do you have any insight in terms of that?
Yeah, it should be in both of those locations, Tom. It started with East Missoula, and then West Riverside, I think, picked up on it when we were early on in those conversations. So you should see that in both places. I can check or send a note to Andrew Hagemeyer and have him touch base with you, but those should be proposed in both locations.
Well, so it definitely wasn't in East Missoula, any of the areas like, Montana and between the highway and the interstate. Yeah, if you could check it, because I was like, I thought they were the ones that started this whole concept.
And you said you were on the, and you said you were on the interactive map when you were looking at that?
I was, yeah.
Okay,
I wonder if
that sounds good. I'll check.
Refreshed in that location, or anyway, Chad, if you could check that would be good.
Yep, you bet.
Okay, thanks, Tom, for bringing that to our attention. Bert, did you have an East Missoula question?
Yeah, I did. One, you mentioned talking to the bus line. Which one were you talking about?
The mountain line.
Mountain line?
Yeah.
Been trying to get them to do stuff for years, both for Sharon and for the Milltown State Park. So you're having some luck with that?
It appears there's discussion with them pulling in and dropping off. There was doubt whether or not there would be a separate bus stop area, and whether there was enough land to have a pull in for the bus and a parking lot for the vehicles.
Yeah.
So and two accesses in the highway at either end of the parking lot. So they would come in one and go out the other, and then back as they would do. That was part of the discussion we heard last night.
Yeah, we had the UDASH people at our meeting Monday night, and they've started running free from the university, and anybody can climb on that wants to, but it's at the university. They're coming out and dropping off and picking up at Sharon also.
That's great.
Yeah, I was real happy with that, and we were talking to them about what it would take to expand to Milltown State Park, and some of that, and since I've got all three commissioners here, and I know you're contributing to that effort already, but if you can find a few extra bucks to let them take the extra 10 minutes to get out to Milltown State Park, it would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Or we can encourage Mountain Line to find the bucks.
They always have excuses. They're buying a new electric bus or something for, $200.
Well, they just got a big fat bond. So if they have, voters voted them some money, they should.
I've already been talking to them. I know people on their board of directors, and I keep getting excuses as to why they can't come all the way out to Milltown State Park. So if the commissioners can put a little leverage on that, that would be great.
Sure, sure. I mean, I think during the summer months, that makes so much sense.
It's only 2.5 months that we're talking about,
Yeah.
really.
Yep.
Thanks, Bert. Bert, how did you get us back there to Bonner Milltown? I thought we just heard from you guys.
It's my job. It's
okay. All right, back to you, Lisa. East Missoula. Sorry, we had a little bit of an.
We also had Andrew on our meeting last night, particularly talking about the zoning and some building restrictions, or I'm not sure. It falls under zoning, but they're not zones. Maybe you could correct my vocabulary on that. But designations for buildings, whether it would be height, design, parking, placement, things like that. We have our Ole's lot right in the center of our community that is recently under another plan and another rezoning to get more apartments put on it. And so that's a big concern in East Missoula, is what happens with that particular piece of property, since it is right at the center of our community. And one of the things that was my comment last night, it seems like I heard a lot at the last meeting, everyone was talking about East Missoula and our city center. And city center was the term used, and we always refer to it as a neighborhood center or a village center, because we're not a city, and I doubt we're ever going to become one. So it seemed like we don't want that thought of city to be used with us, that the term really does is a little bigger than us.
In the zoning code, I think it's called neighborhood center. We're in the land use element, not the zoning code. The land use element, it's referred to as neighborhood center.
So that's what we're a little more comfortable with that than us people. There were many comments using the word city center, which made me think, wait a minute, we're not a city, we're a village, we're a neighborhood. And last night in Andrew's presentation,
I think that was just sort of, I think that was just colloquial, because it's called neighborhood center in the land use element, and in the new zoning code, that's not described at all.
Yeah.
So Lisa, what I would suggest is, as the zoning code process moves forward, absolutely nothing is set in stone at this point, and I would encourage folks not to get too hung up about the language, because we can rename the zoning designations anything that we want. It's kind of it's the heart of what the zoning designation allows, not so much what it's called, but if what it's named is creating a lot of concerns or expectations that more is going to happen there than what will actually happen on the ground, then we can talk about what to call it.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of concern of the size of development going on right there, and us not having the nice, our definition of mixed use was we need businesses and apartments and houses, and all we seem to be getting are apartments. And we kind of beat off another storage facility because we have quite a few of those already in existence. So there was a long conversation with Andrew about some of the things that are coming, but not quickly enough for this current development proposal, since zoning has a longer process than other things. He's saying a 45 days before, meeting announcements, and everybody else has, all other meetings have 2 week. So it's going to take longer just because of what it was explained to us. And that this particular project might get done before that is done, the zoning, which, could happen. But East Missoula is really concerned about the Ole's neighborhood, the Ole's part of our neighborhood, and what happens on that lot. Seems to stir up a lot of public comment from the last meeting. So that was kind of our meeting. We're really excited about the Marshall Mountain Plan, which we heard from last month. Other good news was the Marshall Mountain Plan and the Sharon. were very good news.
Thanks, Lisa. Tom, is your hand up from earlier, or did you have a new comment?
I mean, I probably have, no, it was up from earlier.
Okay.
I spaced out, forgot to take it down.
No problem, but I do see a new hand up from Bert Caldwell.
Yeah, I want to get all my comments out of my system so that I don't bother you tomorrow. Okay. East Missoula, Lee was here last month and said she had a surprise that she couldn't tell anybody. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And that was that on the 29th, the city council approved a waiver of for annexation up through 2035, I think. Isn't that right, Lisa?
It was 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was 10 years from the end of the current waiver. So I thought that was really a good thing for East Missoula.
Yeah, it allows us, I think, to finish the things we're already gotten on the burners here.
I don't think you're going to get annexed in 2035 either. So
we shall see. It gives us time to finish what we are currently working on. So, yeah.
Right. Thanks, Lisa. And Tom Tucker, are you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what's happening out in West Valley?
Well, we had a meeting last Thursday, and we kind of tabled until we get more information on this bike trail, walking trail from King Ranch out to Little Creek Underpass. And our chairperson lady said she would renew her stature as the chairperson for the West Valley. And I see there's a lot of destruction going on out there at the Smurfett Stone site. Looks like they're tearing down a lot of stuff.
Really?
And basically, too much more going on. So, how are you doing on the railroad expedition? Are you getting any luck?
If by railroad expedition you mean bringing passenger rail service back to southern Montana, yes, we are making some great strides. As many of you probably are well aware, a week and a half ago, the bipartisan infrastructure bill was signed into law. And within that, there includes direction to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation to do a nationwide study of restoring previously abandoned long distance routes. And considering the fact that our very own Senator John Tester was the one who introduced that language, the legislative intent is that our route through southern Montana be a part of that study. Yesterday, I spoke with the administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, and I think we're in about as positive a position as we've been in 4 decades to pull this off. So stay tuned.
It's great.
Sounds good to me. I don't have anything other than that.
Kyla, thanks, Tom.
Hi, I just wanted to give a quick update about the 2022 candidate filing for special districts. The candidate filing period opened on December 12th. The deadline for filing is February 9th at 5 p.m. and all of that has to be done through the elections office. So if anyone has an upcoming expiring term that's an elected term, which most of them are, there's just a couple that are BCC appointed, you need to go to the elections office to fill out your declaration for nomination of oath and candidacy form with the elections office. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a reminder to folks if you had any questions.
Kyla, have we reached out to, or are we reaching out to community council members who might be in that category?
Elections emailed me today and says they have done some outreach for the special districts. I'm not sure what that entails, if it's to board chairs or board members directly, but it's definitely to the chairs of each board, to my knowledge.
Yes, we got the forms and everything.
Okay, Tom.
real quick question. When we start up our 2022 year of meetings, we'd like to have one of you from the commission as a guest. Who's the victim or the privileged person?
Well, you know, I just want to throw this out. In 2022, I believe Juanita is going to be our chair.
That would be an option, although I bet any three of us would be willing to make the trek up there, but
yeah, maybe you could get all three of us.
Love to go up.
We could.
Is there any reason you only want one, Tom? Would you
we'd love to have all of you because, yeah.
I hear that they love government up there in Sealy Lake.
Well,
3 commissioners would be fantastic.
three for the price of 3. So,
well, I'll send a note to Kyla. But we would like to have some commission presence on our kickoff meeting for the year.
Yeah, I'm sure. I bet we could all come. We time it right.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Thanks.
You should have enough snow by then. Maybe we could go cross country skiing or something while we're up there.
Yeah, or if the rinks or if there's ice, we could skate. It could be a fun day.
That's right. Good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Tom. And I guess the same offer would be something I'd put out to the other community councils. If at any point in time it would be useful or you would like a commissioner to parachute in either virtually or in person, let us know and we'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's see. That's your hand up from previously. Tom, anyone else?
You mentioned earlier whether or not we should continue this on a monthly basis.
Well, I feel stronger that maybe we should since more folks showed up. But when there were only a couple there originally, I was having my doubts. But what do you all think? Are you good with continuing to meet monthly like this? Would you like to meet less frequently? These seem like a useful and good forum, but I leave it up to all of the community councils.
Having personally been the one who pushed hard for this to be more than once a year, I would like to see it continue monthly, and even with less attendance, maybe go bi-monthly, but no less than that.
Okay. Lisa?
I think a monthly, particularly since we're on Zoom, it's a lot easier for us to communicate this way than the in-person meetings. I can see why it was once a year back then. So I think monthly, based on Bert's strong opinion, or at least quarterly. I would go to a minimum of quarterly, but monthly is a good idea. I'm not saying I'm opposed to monthly, particularly with the Zoom format. It's just easy for us to get on our devices and have this valuable sharing time. And I wanted to ask about the dates for the elections that were mentioned. I missed writing that down. So if those could be given again, that was my hand raise. Thanks.
Let me reread those. So candidate filing opened on December 9th. So they're already open. And special district filing closes on February 9th at 5 p.m.
Great. Thanks. Tom, did you have something you want to say? Tom Browder?
No, I'm probably trying to figure out how to lower my hand. And all I did was eject myself from the whole conference, so I had to come back in. So thanks, Kyler, whomever, for letting me in.
Okay, no problem. I
just click on the hand again, Tom.
Well, that's what I thought, but now I can't find the hand. But
that's
maybe
okay.
that's me.
You just took your hand down. It worked.
I just severed your hand, Tom. So, Lisa, did you have something else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else with anything? Josh, Juanita?
I like the severing the hand comment. That was really big. I hope we do this. I hope we do this once a month. I find a lot of value in it.
I do too. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate hearing from everyone, and apologies, I'm in a really loud space, so I don't have anything else to offer other than happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe.
Same back at you.
Likewise. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us again. Have a very happy holiday season, and